Good evening, members and visitors. Nice to see so many people here tonight. I hope you have elbow space. Please remain standing whilst my spiritual mentor, Sheila Peacock, says a few words. Thank you. Should know this job by now, shouldn't I? Sheila, would you mind switching off? Thanks. Thank you for that, and perhaps we can have a few moments of contemplation. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Let me start by just saying a quick thank you to Sheila for carrying out a splendid role throughout the year in a very committed and interesting and individual way. So thank you for all you've done, Sheila, in supporting me in my mayoralty. Can I also, in passing, say a thank you to Councillor Horace Mitchell, who has looked after a particular faith group who wish to have a broader and more prayerful gathering at the start of the council meeting, and he has conducted those meetings very helpfully, and thank you, Councillor Mitchell, for so doing. I should carry on by saying the usual words of fire precaution and evacuation procedures, not least as we have so many guests here tonight who might not be familiar with it. And there are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening. Therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the building immediately. The fire exit is located at the rear of this room. Go down the back stairs and meet in the War Memorial Park. You can see it clearly labelled there, I hope. I would have thought by now I might have known that off by heart, but I don't. So still have to read it. So, may I ask for nominations for Councillor Putty to become Mayor for the year 2013-14?
Mr. Mayor, it is my privilege to nominate Councillor Dan Putty as the 371st Mayor of Basingstoke-Dean. And in doing so, I would like to say a few words about Dan. Dan was born in Mauritius, a beautiful island in the Indian Ocean. He was one of 11 children and tells me he was completely spoiled by his sisters while he lived there. And in 1968, Mauritius became an independent state within the Commonwealth. So 2 years later, Dan decided to try his luck in the UK. He came across and settled in Basingstoke, and he met Julie while he was working at Park Group. He told me then that it was quite a cultural shock for him. Having been spoiled by his sisters, he had to learn how to wash and cook and do most household chores. Having met Julie, they got married a few years later and have raised 2 sons. Settled down in Popley, and in 1974, he joined the school board in which I was a governor, chair of governors. So it shows you then how long I've known Dan. He graduated from being a school governor to be the vice chair of the committee, and then moved on to Chinham Park as chair, and also spent a while at Brighton Hill. Dan has always been a likeable fella, easy to approach, always welcome to people, and always a kind word for you. Let's carry on about a bit more about Dan. Dan has dedicated a lot of his life to public service, not only in the school board. He became a magistrate and eventually fell into the trap of becoming a local councillor, which is good news to us. Our paths have crossed regularly with Dan and I, not only as a school board member, but also the fact that we both became councillors, and perhaps on a more sunnier side, we both joined the Basingstoke Cardiac Rehab. Dan was very generous this time given then. He set up a sponsorship to be on a diet, to lose a bit of weight. He was very successful in losing weight, but since then I see he's relapsed a bit. Now, I did say to Dan I would not embarrass him, and I won't. But 18 months ago, a dance craze hit us in the local Basingstoke area. And of course, being a member of the rehab, we took it up. And the word I'm looking for is Zumba. Now, let me tell you that if the well was free tonight, Dan could give you a demonstration of the Zumba. He's got natural rhythm. And I'm sure that will help him in his future engagements as mayor. I know he is the first mayor from the ethnic background, but nevertheless, he's brought a lot of talent to the borough. And what about Julie? Where is Julie sat? At the front here. Having brought up 2 sons, they have now got 6 grandchildren to enjoy. 3 with one son down in New Zealand, another son from St. Helens, but I understand that Ryan is here tonight from St. Helens. And a warm welcome to you. It must be a proud moment for you to see your dad be elevated to such a high position, but it's well deserved. And I'm sure all of you will give Dan the support he needs through the year. My advice to you, Dan, is enjoy yourself. Be surprised at what happens behind the scenes. Debbie will look after you well, and I'm sure that you will become a big credit to the Basingstoke and Dean Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. I believe that Councillor Finney is going to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, indeed, it's a great pleasure to second the nomination of Mr. Community. Dan's been a great servant, as you've heard George saying just recently, of the community. He's dedicated himself to community service, particularly in Hatchwarren, where he's been councillor since 1995. It's a long time. He's campaigned for community services and facilities, and as we all know, when you've got a new area, the facilities tend to lag behind a bit. Well, Dan was there pushing it along, making sure they got delivered. And one of his particular claims to fame is that he developed a safe border crossing between Hatchwarren and Kempshott, keeping the Kempshotts out and making sure that the Hatchwarren people could move carefully, I'm sure. Avoiding a proliferation of foam masts whilst making sure that the motorway was silenced by acoustic fencing. The list of community involvement is just astounding. At one stage, Dan was was a member of no more than 3 governing bodies of different schools, and for quite a period, and only stopped doing that when the county decided that 2 was enough for anybody, and he had to give up one of them. He's been a great servant to the council. He's served on licensing, development control and standards for a long period, and on many outside bodies. The Sports Trust, which is where the rehab crew meet, Dan's been a loyal servant there and given many years of service to the Sports Trust to make sure it survives and prospers. Housing associations, and the Youth Action Trust. Not an obvious one to take on, and particularly the Juvenile Justice Unit. Now, the Juvenile Justice Unit is sort of helping juveniles to rehabilitate and become more part of the community. So Dan got involved in camping and community activities, including, I believe, painting a bus in Newbury. Quite an undertaking, and shows what a really man of many talents Dan is. But we've heard about Dan's domestic capabilities, and when it came to Julie having to go away to visit friends and family for an extended period, Dan decided it was time to revisit his Juvenile Justice Unit roots, and he went on an 1830 holiday, so he didn't have to stay at home and cater for himself. But there you are, young at heart, a great servant of the community, and I'm sure will make an excellent mayor for Basingstoke-on-Dean.
Thank you, Councillor Finney. I now have to ask members, and I'm afraid only the members may vote in this, whether you agree to these nominations. All in favour, please indicate. That seems to be the majority. So I think you have the job. And Councillor Putty, do you accept the role?
I am pleased to accept, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. So with that, I think we're going to depart the chamber with the help of the mace bearer and get your kitty down.
Mr. Mayor, please could you now read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I, Dan Putty, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of the Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you sit down?
Yeah. 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 Can I invite the outgoing Lady Mayoress Chansopa Bierman to present the new Mayoress Julie Putty with a plant.
Mic off. Put your mic off.
I call for nominations for the appointment of Deputy Mayor, Councillor Jayawardena.
Mr. Mayor, it is a great privilege to nominate Councillor Roger Gardner as Deputy Mayor for the forthcoming municipal year.
Tilbury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it gives me great pleasure to second that nomination for Roger Gardner, Councillor Gardner. Thank you.
All in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor
I am
Gardner.
pleased to accept.
Would you signify the acceptance?
Mr. Mayor, I am pleased to accept.
We just have to wait now, just for a few minutes.
So Deputy Mayor, please could you now read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office? Thank you.
I, Roger Gardner, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Basingstoke-and-Deane Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of the Basingstoke-and-Deane Borough Council.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Can I call on the mayoress to present the new deputy mayoress, Tricia Gardner, with a plant? Yeah. Okay. I'd like to start my civic duties by proposing a vote of thanks to our outgoing mayor, Councillor Martin Bierman. Councillor Bierman, you will always be remembered for your passion to ride your tandem with a lady mayoress at the back through the borough. On behalf of all your colleagues here and the people of the borough, we say thank you for your year in office. Now I have the pleasure to present the past mayor's badge to Councillor Martin Bierman.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I am delighted that the members' collection for Councillor Bierman has been put to his charity appeal in the sum of £245. And now I am going to present the past mayoress badge to Chansopa Bierman.
Please, yeah.
Good luck. Good done. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Where are you going with that? Now I invite Councillor Bierman to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oops. Well, when I commenced my role as mayor, I certainly didn't know what to expect, but I did feel a bit like a poacher turning into a gamekeeper. I'm not sure whether I will revert to poaching as of tonight, but perhaps it'll be appropriate to do so. I entered the role with some hesitation, but I had listened to previous mayors, and they had all said that they found it very fulfilling, and they had learnt a lot about the borough, and they had met lots of interesting people. And I can absolutely 100% endorse that. Let me just start by saying what were some of the challenges. I don't know whether, Mr. Mayor, you care to listen to these challenges, but there were several, and I won't list them all, but certainly and I think I declared this at the start of my term of office, trying to remember a fair number of names was quite a challenge. And the biggest problem as mayor is that you see people in different contexts and different roles, and it's amazing how many people perform a whole host of roles in the borough, and you're then sort of trying to think, now I know that face, but where? And resist making too many guesses, because I made some and I regretted them. So that was certainly a challenge I knew I was going to have, and that certainly came along. One I wasn't aware of and didn't anticipate was judging competitions. I think the first challenge the mayoress and I had, I'm not even sure whether it was as mayor or whether it's deputy, but the very first judging competition we had was a bikers rally, where we were requested to judge the best bike in the rally. Now, bearing in mind that the time I was on two wheels with a motor was when I used a scooter, the old-fashioned Vespa type, and certainly didn't know anything about powerful machines ridden by hairy bikers with a lot of tattoos, we went forward with some trepidation as to which one to choose. We survived the ordeal. You see us here to this day. And lest it be thought that they are not a very friendly group, they were massively friendly and were looked after as well, and we have absolutely no complaints. But at first we did feel a little intimidated, I have to say. And just as intimidating in its own way was judging at the WI, where they had created out of foodstuffs a replica of the mayoral badge. And they were very inventive, but we really did have a problem there because they were all in their own ways so inventive, and you didn't really want to take one out and say, that's the best, because they were all very good. So yes, that's a challenge as well. For me, and I anticipated that in advance, was the question of fundraising. It's not something I've ever done seriously before, don't know much about. Debbie said, don't worry, it's all okay, I'll look after it, which in fact she has done brilliantly, but unfortunately, Chansofa, my wife, wasn't listening. And she decided that I should be involved in the fundraising. Now, in fact, she did most of the fundraising work in terms of getting in raffle prizes and the like, but she kept on saying to me, I had to phone people, or I had to go and drop off a begging letter, or I had to do this, and I couldn't keep up with it, and I'm so pleased that's over that bit. The other thing, which probably goes without saying, is whilst the mayoralty is a civic role and politics should stay out of it altogether in terms of one's daily activities, one can't escape it altogether in terms of council meetings. And those members here and those who visited it will know that sometimes it can be a bit of a bear pit here. So those were the challenges. The blessings was, I thought at the start, was to have two wives. Now, it's a nice idea, but I now know that being redirected by two ladies, fortunately, they were usually on the same theme, but not always. And I had to walk a very tight rope between these two ladies giving their opinions in quite firm fashion. And Debbie, wherever she is, I don't know where she is, but she's not somebody to easily say no to. So... So I didn't, but I just sort of shrunk away and thought about it. One of the things that has been tremendously rewarding, and as I say, all my predecessors that I've heard speak have said this, is to find out the talent that we have in the borough. And if I can start by just referring to Reg, whom I hope when you came in you might have noticed, and if you didn't, do look at Reg on the way out. He's a giraffe, and he stands in our reception area, and was created by a 13-year-old who was moved by the fact reading a story about a giraffe eating plastic bags and dying on them, and that set her mind going. And so she created this giraffe, which I think has got a good look on his face. I like his psychedelic coat, and I like the fact that he's made, apart from his eyelashes, from recycled materials. Sorry, his wellies were bought in a second-hand shop of some sort. But his mane is made from plastic bags, and this, the concept of using recycled materials obviously appeals to me in other ways, but to produce something quite so attractive is quite amazing, and just shows, because we saw it first on display in the Willis Museum and couldn't resist saying, can we borrow Reg? Reg is unfortunately going home tomorrow, wherever home is, and that's still in debate. But such talent from somebody so young, as I say, it was at Willis Museum, and it was only one piece of many remarkable pieces. We also, early on in our year of office, were invited, one gets invited, as past mayors know, to all sorts of things, some of which look attractive on paper, some slightly less attractive. And I don't think I'll offend anybody here who might be attached to the group, because actually I don't think there is anybody, but if they are, I know they won't be offended because they'll know what's coming next. We were invited to the Embroiderers Guild. Now, the Embroiderers Guild is not a group that I would set up a fast pace to meet and to see. I mean, my only experience of embroidery is sort of a logo embroidered on a T-shirt, and it's probably done by machine anyway. So when we went to visit, I went with some trepidation, but felt it was a civic duty. I can only say we were both absolutely bowled over by firstly learning the different types of embroidery that existed, the dedication of the ladies doing it, and the outcome of their endeavours. And amongst this group, and bear in mind these are people from Basingstoke, so you know, just put that reminder in when people say, oh, nothing's going on in Basingstoke and people here don't have talent. Their stuff was amazing. Amongst the group is a lady who actually writes major tomes on embroidery. Well, though I don't think I'm going to take up embroidery, I can now appreciate it more and what's gone into it. And as a result of an off-cuff remark, because the mayoress and I were so impressed, the ladies got to work and have actually produced substantial work depicting an old map of the borough, showing different vignettes of different locations within the borough, all embroidered. That is the sort of talent we have. And being impressed by, we're no art gurus or at all knowledgeable about art, but having sort of visited a whole load of groups around the borough and finding out that the various arts groups didn't know about the existence of yet further art groups, we thought it would be quite nice to gather them all under one roof. And it was not only impressive to the members of the public who came and visited in the Hampshire Court Hotel, but also to the artists to see what the other artists were doing. And said, we must do this again because we didn't know all this was going on in our borough, and yet they're artists, and yet the word hadn't got around. And so it was lovely, firstly, to see it, and secondly, to enjoy the experience with the artists. And we broke a duck in our life so far because we've never bought an original piece of art, and this was a first for us, which we did because, as I say, there were so many pieces, but it was expensive, and it raised a couple of grand for the Mayor's charity. So, you know, it was a winner all round. That wasn't the main purpose. It was a nice side issue, but that wasn't the purpose of doing it, because it was a question of getting people together. And lastly, there are some people in this room, I think, who were there. Again, slightly different type of culture in the borough, dance and song. We arranged Basingstoke in the Mix, and those who attended, I think, described it as a good event. We were certainly very heartened by the outcome, because at one stage it really looked, where's Ian? Ian? Oh, no, Ian isn't here. He was perhaps going to be. No, Ian Ahern, who put it all together, was sort of scratching his head at times and wondering whether it would happen, but it came together beautifully and again showed the cultural diversity we got in the borough as well as the talent. And it was a really, for us, a nice experience, and everybody who's spoken to us about it has said the same. We've also obviously met lots of voluntary groups, and I just couldn't list them all. I won't bore you. You probably want to get and have a bite shortly. But I will mention in passing on, I've left it now, the people that we've probably seen more and are obviously very popular as a charity in the borough, the St. Michael's Hospice. And they rather took pity on us and said, well, we took part in the big wheel. And they said, all right, you've completed this course, you get a gong for it. We said, no, it's all right, we're here to do a job sort of thing. No, bear in mind that one day you won't have the gong that the mayor is now wearing, and you'll need a replacement. So I did have it with me, but I didn't bring it in, but I now have a gong to fill the gap, because I'm now used to the bling, and you got to change. So that was very nice, thank you, St. Michael's. We've been entertained very nicely. The people you would expect, Lions and Rotary, are very good at entertaining all sorts of people, us included. We had probably our best Christmas meal, certainly the biggest Christmas meal we have ever had, prepared by users of the Camrose Centre. Now, I hope by now know that Camrose Centre, Resource Centre, is one of our charities. And they are trying to help people who are homeless or near homeless and have difficulties feeding themselves and so on. But on that particular day, well, they certainly made up for most of the rest of the year. It was a massive pile of food, one can only put it that way, and it took rather too long for me because I don't like to waste it, so I persisted and cleaned my plate. But that was a pretty stonking old meal that was, and well done to the Camrose Centre as well as taking You Were Giving, and that was a lovely event. We've got around the borough in a way that one doesn't expect, perhaps. One of our more unexpected visits was to Overton Rugby Football Club. Now, you drive through Overton, or you cycle through Overton, or whatever else you do, and you wouldn't think that there was a really major rugby club and field and all the rest of it located there, hidden away behind. Fantastic, but, as I say, one wouldn't normally know it was there or go there unless you're in a rugby club or the like. Even went up to Tadley several times for theatre productions, young theatre productions. Very good. And perhaps our furthest, most distant visit was to Berkeley. And we talked about Basingstoke as opposed to Basingstoke-on-Dean. We talked about Basingstoke-on-Dean and how that fits together, but also Basingstoke. And they sort of looked at me strangely and said, where's that then? So it is true that they sometimes feel a little forgotten out there. So we said, okay, better come along here and have a look at it. So they actually duly came along, and I think they went away thinking it wasn't too bad a place. I certainly hope so. It's probably fair to say that much delight has been produced by children in one form or another. We've either visited schools or had schools coming here, scouts and cubs and cadets and youth groups of different types. Kids are unpredictable, but in most times in the most beautiful of ways. And I think probably Basingstoke in the mix. Again, those that were here will probably agree with me. One of the stars was, I think we worked out she was about 2, a little Hungarian girl, who was next to some other Hungarian adult dancers and was sort of going around in circles but virtually being hoisted around. But then they sat down and had a song, and this little girl sat there and sang her heart out. You could hear her individually because she wasn't exactly in tune. But this is in the Anvil, and you could hear her. You didn't need a microphone there. You could hear this little girl singing away. And, you're not allowed to do these things these days, but I wanted to rush down and give her a hug. I thought, you have really been a star here. And she was one of so many young people who were joining in and giving their heart in this particular event. And hopefully it will be memorable for them as much as it was for the people who were there, and certainly for Chansofa and myself. I'd just like to close, well, almost close. I'd just like to say a big thank you to the many donors. A lot of people have been very generous. Some of them had little choice when the then mayoress was twisting their arm up their backs and threatening them in different ways, and so they did give gifts that I think they thought perhaps they shouldn't have been quite so generous, but they were tremendously generous with some of their raffle prizes and other gifts for charity events. And then various venues like the Anvil, like the Hampshire Court Hotel and others made their venue available to us for free. And then we've had donations come in just through the post and otherwise completely anonymous, where we don't even know who has given it. So if anybody's here and done it anonymously, thank you. If anybody happens to be listening on the webcast, thank you to them as well for having donated and been so shy about declaring. I'm just going to close by just correcting you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. We don't own a tandem. The tandem was generously made available to us because that was to please Debbie again. One has to please Debbie. And Debbie wanted a picture on the tandem with me in robes. And to sit on a tandem and ride it with a person, both of us who'd never ridden a tandem before, wearing robes dangling down near the chain and the spokes, and then it was a racing tandem, so it had wheels, well, you could hardly see them, they were so thin, was something of a challenge, and I think it would be more than we could face to go around Basingstoke in that fashion. I do have to say a big thank you to the mayoress, or ex-mayoress, so forgive me, I've got used to calling the mayoress, to Chan Sofa, in her support throughout the year. She has put up with a lot. When we've gone to engagements, she's helped fill the gap so often when I was struggling with names. She's helped fill the gap when I couldn't remember what I was supposed to say about certain things, as one has to from time to time. And she's most of the time made sure my tie was straight, but she wasn't perfect on that. But she's just been a great companion. So we were doing it as a duo, which is a lot easier. I'm sure, again, David will agree with that. When there's a pair of you, you feel as a team rather than quite so exposed. And she's even ridden her bike more often than she would have chosen to. She did refuse sometimes when her tyre wasn't right, or when the weather was too bad, or most importantly, when we had just too much to carry. The robes, even when they're not being worn on a bike, is a challenge. So we did, in fact, finish up using the car rather more than we would have wished. We did for a while use an electric car, and I had an electric car loaned to me, which was an experience I'll talk about another time, but it was all very interesting. So with that, I'm going to move on to my awards. Now, I think I'm just about going to get through them because one of the recipients will have to dash out fairly quickly after receiving it because his son is to be confirmed tonight and he wants to be there, and I think that's a pretty reasonable wish. And in fact, I think I'm going to break with tradition. I'm going to go back to front because we would normally finish up with the Business Award, but as Andy Malloy here is one of the recipients for the Business Award, I will start with that, and then I'll go back to the normal order. And the way I have worded this is very simply to say the Basingstoke Energy Services Co-op is for what can most simply be described as services to industry in harmony with the earth. Now, just a quick few extra words. He, and particularly Martin Heath, have dogged one or two council committee meetings by coming and telling us that we weren't doing things as best we might. And I have found what they have said fairly persuasive. But by their persistence, they have finished up not only persuading the council to look and introduce solar energy in certain areas, they've managed to land a major contract with BCOT, which will be a wonderful exemplar showing what can be done on a large scale, and they are obviously a centre of learning and building and will be a good advertisement for the borough and how to apply the technology. So with that, may I invite Martin Heath, Trevor Harding and Andy Malloy to come forward, please. If you'd come over here, and then you can be seen receiving it on the video, and then we'll also do you a still. might have to bunch in a bit more. So yeah. In fact, come a bit more this way, because I really do want you to be seen. So, gentlemen, you probably need all three of it. Well, no, you're tougher than I am. Anyway. You're used to handling solar panels, so you really. No, that's quite right. Yes. Yes. Well, well done, and congratulations. Thank you very much for what you're doing for the borough. The commitment you've shown, because you've been doing it not only as a business, as a cooperative, which I think is a good form of business, but also because of your commitment to the type of business you're in. And thank you very much indeed. I've just taken it back off them for a moment because I have an extra little gift for them. Excuse me. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell any of these gents what this is, but others might like to see it. This is not exactly a solar panel, but it's a solar evacuated tube for, now I'm forgetting the words, not PV, but solar thermal. Thank you, that's fine. Just ask the experts. Yeah, well, that's it. That's why I've got you here, you know.
Can you fix it?
Well, yeah, well, I said I had this spare one lying around at home, and so I had it to experiment with to see whether these things really worked. And they do, because when you pop it out on a sunny day, it gets quite hot in there, but the point is this little copper blob at the end really gets more than hand hot. And I think it's a lovely little device for illustrating the principles when you're doing one of your many exhibitions. So there's your solar thermal tube. And
First of many.
well, enjoy it. And you want me there? Well, you need to pass that to the other end so it's still on display. I've got it.
Come forward.
No, sorry, very well done.
Let's hold on. Slightly that way. Sorry, guys.
How can I forget film?
Thank you.
I've got it.
I've got it.
Okay.
I'll take it up back.
Okay, wherever. You may leave now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I'm sorry to dash
The rest we go. That's quite all right. It's fully understood. I'm still switched on. I should know that by now. Right. I am now going to go back to the more regular running order, which means that I'm going to go to a couple of individual awards. And I prepared a few words there because I was asked to by our corporate comms outfit, and I said I was going to award a badge to Jill Jones, and I said for services to music for the benefit of children in a wide catchment of the borough and orchestral delivery of a high class. I suspect a lot of people in this room will know Jill, but the comms people perhaps didn't know her quite as well because they said, yes, but what is she? And I thought about it because, I've known her for a long time. In truth, you tried to teach our offsprings. You did, I'm sure, the very best job that anybody could do, but I'm afraid you had rather, oh dear, one of them's here. You had difficult material to work with. But she does now, in her day job, she does a lot of singing, and to encourage the little ones that she's trying to interest in another language. So I really can't say any more than that, other than, as I said to yourself, Jill, a few moments ago, if one goes to virtually any orchestral concert in the borough, particularly where there are young people, as long as it's a borough, like the Basingstoke Symphony Orchestra, another grand outfit, if you go to any of these concerts, if you look carefully, somewhere there, Jill will be as well, stroking her violin. Yes? Stroking it, yes. Certainly not squeaking it or doing anything like that my sister used to do. So with that, I'd like to invite you to come forward, Jill. And I did say to Andy and co, they've actually left, haven't they? All of them gone. Oh, no. Have they gone? Oh, well, they can say a few words after if they feel moved to. But I do want to say a big personal thank you, but I know it's on behalf of many, many people for your ongoing commitment, and as everybody can see here, your big smile of encouragement, because I've never seen you do anything other than smile. I suspect there might be times when you do, but I've never seen it, so Mr. Jones might have seen something else. But
just occasionally, yes.
So let's see what we've got in there.
Oh,
So
that's lovely. Thank you.
I'll take that out. Because the citation's on the back, you see, and
Right,
Debbie rightly knows that it's got to be made simple for me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, this has been a big surprise. I mean, I'm very grateful. It's quite an honour to receive this. I've been in this area for nearly 35 years, teaching music in the area for that amount of time, with little gaps for children. But music's great. You know, it's a passion I've got, and it's just great for everyone here. You can all enjoy music, whether it's listening to it or trying to play it or whatever. And you know, I like to show the children that it's good fun. Just to sing, you don't have to be really good at anything, but just to enjoy it.
Well,
and that's really been my passion over the time. So yes, I do pop up here and there. You know, so I just get involved, really.
well, it is so obviously a passion. You don't do it because it's a job. That's
no,
quite
it's a job
evident.
and a passion.
Yeah. Well, okay, it is a job as well, but
Yeah.
that seems to be a sideline
Yeah,
almost.
that's right.
So
So thank you.
you're very welcome. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Right, the next individual award goes to Dave Watton, who one might say is not somebody that I would naturally have an interface with. I'm not much of a sportsman, and I don't see any prospect of becoming a sportsman at this stage. I do try and keep moving, but that's about it. But David, and I think I'm probably able to say you're a little older than I am. But yes, no. Well, the point being, he's been retired how long?
Almost 14 years.
He's been retired 14 years from his teaching position in sport. And wherever we've gone in this year of office, and as I say, there are surprises around every corner, his name keeps cropping up. He has been particularly active on the hockey front, I think it's fair to say, but he hasn't restricted his endeavours to hockey, and he goes all around the schools in the borough with no reward other than the joy of doing it, I think I'm right in saying, and gives of his time, and clearly remains fit in the process. But for him to show such commitment well beyond retirement, and keeping our young people inspired, because as far as I'm concerned, the Olympics and all the football leagues are fantastic things for some, but I'm much more interested in what's going on in the schools and amongst the young people, and can they take part, and he's making sure that that's the case. So, David, would you mind coming forward and receiving? So, don't know whether you care to say a few words.
Thank you. Having retired after 40 years teaching, I thought, what do I do? Well, I couldn't enjoy the paperwork in teaching because it's far too much. I enjoyed the teaching bit, so I found something to do afterwards. So I've spent, 14 years going to local junior schools, coaching hockey, mainly. I do other things, and I met somebody tonight whose son's been confirmed. His son is at Great Fields. He enjoys his hockey. And there are people here who may well know me because I taught them, or their children, or their grandchildren. And the question I get asked, do you remember me? And I'll say no. Because I worked it out for another reason, that this year I've taken over 2,000 children. There's one of me, a load of them. All I can say is they meet me with a smile, and I meet them with a smile because I'm enjoying myself. I've had a very happy retirement so far, and I hope to carry on. Thank you very much.
I only regret that you weren't around when I was at school, because that might have made more of a sportsman of me. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. A pleasure. Since I was wanting Andy to be able to escape quickly, I didn't give you your words, so please do.
Oh, well, I think we would just like to say thank you to Martin, really, and I can't call you Mr. Mayor anymore, can I?
No, you can't.
I won't. I have done several times. So. But really, just to say to Martin, the inspiration actually he's been to the cooperative and what we've done. And, you know, we've put solar panels on many places in Basingstoke. Indeed, Martin had opened some of those solar panels. We asked him to cut the cable once, and I think he refused, sensibly. It was live. But the inspiration of when Martin turns up on his bike. And I remember we were at another event in Bramley. Martin turned up on his bike. An event called Earth Hour, where we actually sat we made our own power for 1 hour to show the impact of what we could do. Martin turned up on his bike. So that's been inspirational, I think, to us. And I will admit now, most times, but not always, I ride to my work on a bike. But I think it also shows the lesson that inspiration and leadership can really give us. If we can continue that leadership, there's a great opportunity for Basingstoke to become one of the leaders in renewable energy, creating jobs and reducing our costs, making our industry better, more competitive, and our people happier. And I think if we can push forward, particularly through the council, and showing to the people of Basingstoke what we can do with renewable energy, it will be taking that lead that Martin's given us, and we can push forward to see Basingstoke truly on the renewable energy map. And I look forward to you, the councillors, making sure that happens over the coming year. Thank you.
Go back to where you were. Well, thanks for that, Martin. The next award is a slightly different award, that's because one of the challenges that I didn't mention earlier is to prepare for these awards, because there are so many wonderful, deserving people that you might wish to include. And I had great difficulty then sort of narrowing it down to a few. What I therefore did was take the third award and sort of tried to look at things where people are doing, dare I say it, not quite such high-profile things, but are doing things in their own communities. And I think the only way I can describe my thinking is to actually read what I prepared before, though I'm not very good at reading these things, but I'll give it a go. And I've described it as an award for doing small things in a big way. This award is in place of individual awards. It seeks to make some recognition of the hundreds of people throughout the borough who year after year beaver away in their communities with little recognition, but with outcomes which are of tremendous value given their long-term dedication. After the first year of recognition to such individuals in a number of borough locations, the award will transfer to Chinham Parish Council for recognition of citizens on a more local basis. And then I'm just going to say the first, there are 4 recipients. It's going to be 4 in the year. And the first 2 recipients I'm going to mention aren't going to be able to be, or aren't able to be here tonight. So if I could ask the third recipient, Phil Clark, to prepare to dash down here whilst I'm saying the next few bits. The first recipient is to be Iris King for her contribution to the Popley community. Thereafter, Heather Rainbow for commitment to many community issues, but in particular, dare I say it, cycling. From thence, it will go to Phil Clark, who is going to be the recipient tonight, for services to art in the Tadley area. You see, I do love Tadley. And a particularly meaningful, because this is how I got to know him, a particularly meaningful contribution to the recent Mayor's Festival of Art and Crafts. He again, was a key, I don't even know how, I don't want to say controller because that sounds totally wrong, but he did so much to make sure the thing worked and came together, so thank you very much. And in a similar vein, it will then go on to Ian Ahern, whom some may know from involvement with the gang show, with the Mayor's Christmas Carol service, with the Mayor's charity show in October, but he stretched himself one further and was the producer behind the Basingstoke in the Mix. And whilst we fed the groups into him, he then devoured them and spat them out in the right order in a way that worked tremendously. So Ian Ahern will be the last recipient before it then moves on to Chinham. So Phil, and you sort of only knew this because you stepped in, because unfortunately Iris King is ill and can't be here, and Heather Rainbow is absent without leave. I don't know where she's gone, but so she certainly couldn't receive it. So I'm passing it to you, but I will ask for it back to give it to Iris. But I just sort of felt there had to be somebody to pass it to. So if you wouldn't mind receiving it. I don't know, because you were only thrown into this position a matter of almost hours ago, whether you care to say something?
Only briefly. I just would like to thank Martin, obviously, and everybody. But I'd particularly like to thank Martin and Chan Sofa for supporting arts and crafts in the local area. We sometimes feel a little bit left out in the cold, and we have to push ourselves all the time. But it's nice to have that kind of support, so thank you.
Pleasure. Cheers, Phil. Thank you. Sorry you had to travel so far. Right, that brings me on to... actually, I've just made a big faux pas, haven't I? I've just given you my own badge.
Yes, last minute.
Yes, I have. Well, you see, I think you'll have to come back and do some more picks. Come on. Oh, you got to have a bit of variety in this show, haven't you? Yeah, it is rather very nice. Yeah. Well, you see, normally there are 3 badges, you see, and it was only because it was varied later on that we went to this. It will have a base and it will have the inscriptions of the various recipients. But yeah, that is a bit different, isn't it? So with that, do receive this award. You don't have to make the speech again. Yeah.
Nice big stuff. That's brilliant. One more, just a quick pass slightly nearer to me. You're right, thank you.
There's some more padding, so get it from Debbie, yes, and so that we can take it on. Right, my final award is a different award again, but in a different category, because as I said, we had lots of fantastic experiences, and you really want to say, apart from big thank yous to people, there are so many people one wants to award to. But there was one particular group of people, again, who come in many guises, and I think particularly Marion Cornick, who was here last year in a different guise, but you're allowed to come again for this. Who founded the Loddon School. And the Loddon School, if you haven't been there, is an experience in its own right. It's something that, again, we knew roughly of its existence, but we didn't know what it does. And we were invited to the Christmas show, and it comes back again a little to what Jill was saying about what music can do for you. I certainly think we might in our dotage go for joining a choir, because we've seen how singing uplifts, the Alzheimer's Society, some of the old folks home, when they join in the singing, really does good for you. And I'm putting the wrong person now. Marion and her team, who are Lynn Young, who is the principal of Loddon School, or one of the principals, Karen Rooks, and Janet Bromley, who is another principal, and I didn't say Karen Rooks is the head teacher, do an unbelievable job. And rather than trying to invent the words, because it was so difficult to describe it, but so important, what I actually put down previously was, this award seeks to recognise a team of people whom it would not be appropriate to place under the business heading, because though they have to be commercial to a certain extent, they're not there as a business. But equally, they're not suited to an individual award, because it's a team job, and without it being a team, one just couldn't cope, because each child in that school needs several carers, and they have to be cared for 24 hours a day. And it is, as I say, it's mind-boggling to understand the commitment one has to have when it's sometimes difficult to see the degree of progress that's being achieved. And I think it's certainly been educative for us to see it. And if you have the opportunity, if you're ever invited to go to one of their Christmas shows, pantomime, I can only describe it as manic, it is something that, again, is memorable. So would you ladies mind coming forward, please, and thank you ever so much for what you've done. Ladies and gents, sorry, yes. I say ladies and gents.
I'm standing in for Janet. I'm the new chief executive.
Right. That's why, because I had the list here, so I didn't forget the names, like I forgot about thermal solar. So, so you're standing in for, sorry? For
Janet.
Yeah, right, okay. Thank you for so doing.
No,
so, this is supposed to indicate a group of people, because it is a group of you that's doing it. And I think you know from our visit to the pantomime and our subsequent visit, it was a very eye-opening event, and we're pleased that we took the time to do so. So, do you want us to hug up a little more?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Just slightly behind that.
Yeah. Okay. If I go,
you go there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Make the caption easily. See if we together.
Are you
behind? Please. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Just for chairs.
Yeah.
Not rounding up cats. There we go.
Right, okay.
Holding out now.
Watch the step.
And they're looking straight into the camera. Nice big smile. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. That's good.
Thank you.
Yes, please do. Yes.
It's 25 years ago that I decided to do something mad and start a school, found a charity. It's been the most amazing experience, and we've seen more than 100 children go through our work. Even one of the mayor's sons worked for us. We have 200 staff looking after our 30 children in the school, very, very severely disabled children. But it's amazing to see what the school and the environment and the staff do for those children. But for me, it's amazing to see what happens to the staff. I always say when a teacher or an assistant or a worker comes into the school, within a month they're a changed person forever. And that's what Loddon School children can do. 25 years ago, Hampshire was not even recognising autism, and now autism's an everyday word. It's just amazing how things have changed, and I can beat the previous winner by saying I qualified as a teacher 52 years ago, and I'm still teaching, and I love every minute of it. And my team are just amazing, and they've worked for me more than 20 years, all of them. So it's an incredible senior team that works together, and we worked against the odds at the beginning when everyone was saying, you can't do it that way, you're mad. But now we're the leading school in the country. We have a national reputation. I'm even doing work in Africa to train teachers there. So the school has moved on from the early days when we had half a dozen children to having an international reputation. And I'm just so pleased that Basingstoke has recognised our work, and we're very proud to be part of Basingstoke. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Take that out. There is some more padding, which I think your instructions going to help. Do you like that, Laura?
Yes, it's lovely. Thank you.
Team together, so
Thank you.
that is the right award. So
Thanks, Dean.
yeah,
Thank you, Martin, for
you're
your
very
support.
welcome, then. Very welcome.
Thank you.
I hope, in closing, you'll see why the Mayoralty offers so many wonderful opportunities to see and learn about the borough and about its people. And I say in closing, it's been a great honour to be the mayor, and I believe the mayor, the ex-mayoress, hold this habit, that Chansofa will agree that it's been a pretty special experience. And to all of those who have, thank you very much for your support throughout the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Outgoing Mayor, and congratulations to all your award winners. Now it is my turn, actually, I welcome you all, my special guests, Lord Portsmouth, the Deputy High Commissioner of Mauritius, all local dignitaries and VIPs, my charity representatives, my pastoral team, councillors, staff, the press people, my friends, and my family. I am extremely honored to have been elected the Mayor of Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council, and to accept the responsibilities that your trust entitle me to. I am most grateful to the people of Hatchwarren and Beggarwood who have elected and re-elected me on my journey since 1995 to this moment for taking this chair of mayor and the position of first citizen of the borough. I sincerely thank my proposer and my seconder for their kind words and your unanimous acceptance to empower me in my themes of community cohesion, youth, and elderly. I have chosen these themes to bring the growing diverse communities to work together in harmony to make their lives better, even more productive and fruitful. We all have a collective commitment to respect, responsibility, and rights. I have chosen the youth to motivate, inspire, and aspire for excellence in education, work, and leisure. I have chosen the elderly for the experience of life, which can be harnessed to guide the youth and others for a better future. They have to engage on many facets of life together with mutual respect, support, and courtesy. I have chosen my pastoral team to reflect the diverse and growing communities in our borough. They are here with us today. I have taken into account being the representative of Her Majesty the Queen, so I have decided that all council meetings will start with a Christian prayer, followed by a thought of the day from one of my denominational team. I hope that this will show that our borough council cares for all communities who contribute to the well-being of one and all. Our borough has always been world leader in businesses and innovations. We have a rich history of companies such as Thornycroft, Willis, Burberry, De La Rue, and many others. We have a rich present when we turned our concrete jungle into festival place and extended it with our mall to a prime shopping destination. We have created a leisure park, Anvil, and Milestone with a footfall of more than 1 million visits per year. We have regenerated Basingview and created thousands of jobs. We have a rich future to look forward to in a very progressive borough which has coveted many awards in this hard and challenging time. We are running for the prestigious Municipal Journal Government Achievement Awards 2013, for which we have been commended. My congratulations goes to all who make this possible. Now about my charities. My mayoress and I have chosen Bluebell's Sebastian Action Trust, which recognizes that children battling life-limiting or life-threatening illness face enormous challenges on a daily basis. This charity provides them to have the opportunity to escape from the rigors of hospital life and grueling treatments, to spend precious time with their families and loved ones, and to enjoy normal pleasures. Since 2011, this unique holiday house offers respite breaks to the children and their families, free of charge all year round. It provides a hydrotherapy pool, a fully equipped music room, a sensory room, and a games room. The trust work also extends by trained outreach workers into emotional and practical support for families to ease their sufferings in isolation. My second charity is that I have set up Councillor Dan Putty JP Foundation Trust for the borough under the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Foundation, with a proportion of money raised in my year of office and to continue as my legacy for future years. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Foundation will administer the funds on my behalf toward the development of voluntary projects in the borough. It will distribute under my criteria to local groups or individuals who offer support, services, and activities that can really make a difference to people's lives in the borough. A proportion of the money raised through my appeal will be used to help give small-scale grants to lesser-known charities and community groups who are working to make our borough a better place to live. This could be anything from a toddler group or older people's lunch sessions to a sports club. My aim is to support voluntary run charities and community groups in Basingstoke and Dean that are struggling for small amounts of money which can help their work or set up new initiatives in local communities. Please support my charities and extend them to friends, families, and workmates. Thank you all for coming to honor our Quality Borough Council, which is open for business and a prosperous, thriving, and exceptional place to live, work, and play. I am enormously proud of it and its people. Thank you. Now, I have the duty to confirm the minutes of meeting held on 21st of March 2013. Agreed? Agreed. Yeah, thank you. Now, this is the end of the events in this chamber. So the mayoress and I invite you for refreshment, where we would welcome you with the chief executive, deputy mayor and deputy mayoress, and the mayoral coordinator. Can the guests leave first before the councillors, please? After me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to the worst thought of there.
After you.